Hello and welcome back to another edition of Talking Quack and Smack with TC Duck Club. I'm Skylar Ray.
I'm Will Wagner.
I'm Casey Young.
I'm Ty Hunt.
I'm Jim Gormany.
We're like Jason Aldean, folks. We're back in the saddle. We had so much fun. We all got up to leave and said, we still got some more stories, so let's just do it again. So here we are. It's going to be a two-part episode this week, I guess. Are y'all excited? I'm excited.
I'm excited.
Are you
excited? Yeah.
Well, just dynamite drop in there, Will. You look like you're excited.
I'm excited.
Woo! It's like Chevy Chase said on Christmas Vacation. We're going to have so much fun. We're going to need plastic surgery to remove the smiles off our faces.
I don't know where that was going, but that went good.
It went good. Well, we edited it. We try to keep it viewer friendly, as much as we can. So anyway, back to, the same old, I guess, with us, practical jokes. We go to the beach. My family goes to the beach. And when I go to the beach, we come back. And, of course, I'm left to tote all the stuff in the house. And my wife comes back outside and she says, oh, my God, Skylar, we've been broken into. We've been broken into. So I'm like, all right, get in the truck, drive down the street, and I'll handle it. So, I take matters into my own hands, and I reach up underneath the seat, and I morph into Horatio Kane, CSI Miami. I drop the beach bag, the pink towels that I'm carrying in, kick my flip-flops off, and here I go. I go into the kitchen. I'm looking around into the living room.
Clear.
I go down the hallway into the bedroom. I'm like, why'd they roll the ceiling fan with toilet paper? Why is there coffee cups on the bathroom floor? Still, I'm right here ready. Throw the shower curtain back and I'm ready. I mean, at any point in time, I'm prepared to risk my life and limb. My wife's driving down the road, Again, back at it. And I've got all these questions like, why did they dump the Q-tips in the kitchen sink? Like, what were they looking for in the box of Q-tips? I don't know. Creep on down. I get to the master bedroom, open the door, throw it open. Oh, my God. Oh, no, surely they didn't. They put the garden digger on my mattress, a rear tine tiller setting up on the bed. And I'm like,
and it really didn't take that long.
They had toilet papered the house and put the daggum coffee cups all in the floor, and set the table, except they didn't set the table. They put all the chairs on top of the table and put the plates up underneath the table on the floor. And I opened the daggum door, and the rear tine tiller is back there. But that's not the best part. I go walking back down the hall, and every one of the canned foods is sitting in the kitchen floor. And there's not a label to be had on any of them. And when, everybody's laughing because everybody here was in on it except me.
Well, the thing you got to know about Skylar is if you get him, he's going to get
And I call my wife and I'm like, hey, coast is clear. We didn't get broke into. We got big O'd. So anyway.
If you steal Skylar's tailgate, he burns your house down, it's even.
Look at the dictionary.
Look it up. It's in the book.
So anyway, wife comes back. We realize we ain't got broken into, and we just made a pact, because she's like, hey, we're going to have to throw all this stuff away because we don't know what it is. I was like, no, we're not throwing that away. So I just invited all my buddies over, and we cooked the food, and the menu was just weird for a while. You'd have like grilled chicken and fruit cocktail. You'd have ribeyes and pickled beets. Well, you never know what you're going to eat because we just made a deal like pineapple and hot dogs. Whatever you opened up, we just ate it. All right, Russian roulette. turn it. What are we having tonight? English peas and fish tonight. I mean, whatever it was, we just ate it. So anyway, to get back, I knew immediately who it was. I'm like, Big O, you got me pretty good, man. So anyway, to get Big O back, me and my buddy, it's, fall of the year, we've been at football practice on Sunday, and I meet him over at his house. We've been shooting our bows, driving tags, modern day Robin Hood. And we go eat at the Waffle King, and I'm heading back home, and we run over a world record beaver. And instead of calling Guinness, we put it in reverse and picked the beaver up. And this beaver is not your average beaver. Like, this beaver was taking HGH, like biggest like world record beaver. It's the size of a German Shepherd. No, it's me and Ryan Law. And we take this beaver and throw it over in the back of the truck. Ryan's like, what are we going to do with that beaver? Why'd you want to get it? I said,
The light bulb went off.
Oh, light bulb.
Going when it was still alive. Yeah.
Yeah. So
went from this lane to that lane with a plan.
we hit this beaver. And when we hit this beaver, we throw it over in the back of the truck. And I was like, what are we going to do with this beaver? I said, we're going to take this beaver to Big O's house. I owe him one. So we go over to Big O's house, and Big O had this $600 stick shift, like mid-90s, four-wheel drive, all-time four-wheel drive Ford Explorer. And
It was a beauty.
It was the Splash edition, had the paint coming up the deal, or what was left of the paint, Anyway, so Big O drove this. He had a really nice C71 pickup truck at the time, but he drove this $600 four-wheel drive Jeep all the time, every day. And this is Sunday afternoon in August. And I take we cut the lights off at the end of the subdivision, and we ease up to Big O's house. And when we get up the driveway, like, we just kick it up into neutral and cut it off. We coast up there, and I just hop out, and Ryan just turns left, as to, not put on the brake lights and wake anybody up. We're covert. I grab that beaver, raise the hatch back, throw it in the back of the Explorer, and we're high-fiving as we're leaving. This is going to be good. It's going to be good. So the next morning, I'm out there at car rider duty, expecting old Big O to drop Larkate and call off for school. Didn't see Big O. I'm like, maybe April will bring him. Well, they get off the bus, and I'm not thinking anything about it, And same thing Tuesday. Didn't see Big O. So I'm calling Jim. I'm like, hey, man, you talk to Big O? He's like, no, man, I ain't talked to him. I said, I ain't seen him in 2 or 3 days. He's like, what'd you do with that beaver? And I was like, well, it's still in the back. And Jim was like, dude, man, like, you better go find out if that beaver is.
You gotta tell him.
I'm like, dude, I'm not telling him.
And that's what hurts me the worst is y'all all knew this.
Well, I want to see what you do to him. Yeah, that was the end game.
We were
Jim's
kind of
playing that long game.
Yeah.
So anyway, it rocks on there, and Thursday night rolls around, and it's meet your teacher night. Mm-hmm. And for some reason we didn't have meet your teacher night like before school started. It was like 3 or 4 days into it, and I had cooked hot dogs. And I was like, Big O, man, what's been going on? Come on in and get you a hot dog. And, we're sitting down there just eating, Nobody goes to the gym to see the PE teacher. And anyway, so Big O comes in, and he sits down to eat a hot dog. And I'm like, so what's been going on, Big O? Where you been, man? I ain't seen you dropping the kids off at school. What's happening? And he said, I've been down in Montgomery all week. I said, please tell me you didn't drive that Explorer all the way to Montgomery. Hoping and praying he had drove the Explorer to Montgomery, He's like, no, man. He said, Lord, that thing probably wouldn't make it to Montgomery. He said, I drove my truck down there. And I'm like, oh, God. I was like, oh, well, how was the meeting? He was like, well, it's just meetings, it's just work, I'm glad to be back. I said, well, how's your hot dog? Yeah, he was like, well, good. Like, what's up? I said, oh, we'll talk about it later. It ain't no big deal. He said, no, seriously. He said, what's up? I said, oh, don't worry about it. We'll talk about it later. I said, I need you to help me, take this barbecue grill. And I knew at this point I got to come clean. I need you to help me get this barbecue grill home. So anyway, we take the barbecue grill home, and I take Big O back to school to get his truck. And,
No, I was there with April, so you dropped me off at home.
yeah, I drop you off at home. That's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, make a long story short, he's in my truck, and the headlights of my truck are shining on the hatchback of this Explorer. And I said, Big O, we pretty good old buddies, ain't we? And he said, nice, Dick.
Gotta take the garbage to the road.
So, anyway, I said, we're pretty good old buddies, ain't we, Big O? He said, yeah, we good buddies. Why? And I said, we're like brothers, ain't we? He said, well, we're like uncle, nephew, yeah, we're close. Why? What's going on? And he said, what have you done? And I said, Sunday night we was shooting our bows, and we went and ate at the Waffle King. On the way home, we ran over a beaver. He said, what'd you do with the beaver, Skylar? And I said, well, see, that's the thing. What started out as an innocent prank, and I didn't know that you had a meeting. We may or may not have put the beaver in the back of the Explorer. He said, how long has it been in there? Sunday night. He said, oh, God. Oh, please tell me you didn't. I said, oh, yeah, Casey. Yeah, I've put the beaver in the Explorer. I said, I'm real sorry about it. And he said,
Real.
well, you need to go ahead and get out. And I'm thinking, God, I'm going to have to fight my dang buddy. Cut the truck off. And I'm rolling my sleeves up. And he said, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. I mean, I just kind of figured we was going to have to fight over this one. He said, oh, no. It's much better than that. And he said, I'm going to go around the house. I'm going to get a shovel out of the shed, and you're going to get that beaver out. And I said, Casey, I can't do that. I can't do that.
He's got the weak stomach.
So I'm going to puke. I know I'm going to puke. I'd just rather him punch me in the nose and get it over with. I mean, my nose will stop bleeding before I quit puking. So anyway, you got to finish the story.
So I go around, I get the shovel, and I get him up there next to that Explorer, and I pull that back of that thing up, and let me tell you, whatever happens from here on out was worth it, because when I pulled that up and he smelled it, he threw up stuff he ate in the second grade. He threw up. I wouldn't have been surprised to see his shoes and socks come out of his mouth. He threw up all over my yard. And then to add,
I mean, I'm on all fours now. I mean, look, if I so much as burp and taste, just the least little bit of anything after I'll puke. Like, if I smell something bad, I'll puke. When he lifted that thing up, it was like that beaver crawled down my throat, and I got down on all fours and started puking. I mean, light switches started coming on at the neighbor's house. April's out on the porch like, what are y'all doing? Casey's like, we're just having fun. Get on back in the house. I'm out there puking.
we get in the Explorer, and the window's down, and he's got his whole body out the window trying not to smell it and throwing up all the way down the road.
Oh, man.
We go to the back road over around by the way, and we get out and we drag that beaver out. And thank the Lord, and I don't know how it happened. The beaver had swelled, so it was a lot bigger than it was before, and he said it was huge before. And that beaver looked like a 55-gallon drum laying in the back of that thing. And I'm praying, don't let this thing bust, because there wasn't no juice. No juice had run out of it. And we grabbed that thing by the tail and we eased it out. And when that thing hit the ground, he starts again. Throwing up all over everything. We get in. All right, long story short, so I've got to save the Explorer, because I love the Explorer. It's my hunting buggy, So I get home and I just roll the windows down. Might rain, might not, don't care, because it can't stay like it is. It's bad. And you knew it.
Hey,
You knew it.
I did. I'm sorry.
So
I'd have set it on fire if it had been
Every
mine.
day I asked him, I said, you tell him? He said, no, I didn't tell him. I was
So-
like, dude.
the
You
next
didn't tell
day, I'm researching. I'm on the laptop researching, trying to figure out how to get rid of the smell. And I get up before school and I go to the grocery store, I guess, whatever would have been open. And I buy baking soda. I buy a whole big red can of Folgers coffee. And I just stand outside and just do this. And I coat everything in there with baking soda and coffee. And I take that thing, to the school, and I pull up, and I get out, and the best part of waking up was me getting out of that thing, because it's Folgers coffee. I get out, I go into school, we do the thing, come out at lunch, and it's no help, no good. Still smells just like it did, except with just a little hint of coffee. So I go and I vacuum all that out at the car wash on my lunch break. I come back, and I've put another little douse of coffee in there, and I roll them windows up. That afternoon, same thing, terrible. The next day at lunch, I drove down to the Gator Man who washes cars. And, hey, if you're around the center and you need your car cleaned up, go to the Gator Man. He's number one. He says, yeah, I got something here. We'll try it. He gets this little spray bottle out, and he sprays the inside of that thing. And I hop in, and I'm driving back to the vocational school. It's less than a mile, 3/4 of a mile. And I'm like, that. And, of course, I'm getting nose blind to it by this point. I was like, this is going to work. This is good. I pull up and park at the school, and I roll them windows up where that stuff can just fight the beaver all afternoon, It's just in there having war. I get back, I come out, and I open the door on that thing, and the beaver was back on top. I'm talking about just punch you in the nose.
It's a $600 vehicle. The whole vehicle he had paid $600 for, and he spent $462 trying to get rid of the beaver.
I ended up selling the vehicle to get out from under the beaver, but that was cold. That was a dirty, dirty, dirty thing. I can't believe he did me that way.
And Big O finally told me, he said, I hope we're square on them canned goods prank. He said, this little beaver episode cost me more than the vehicle's worth. And I was like, oh, no, we're not even. No, I'm still eating English peas and pizza, and I puked that up in your driveway. I said, the joke was on me. I said, no, we're nowhere near even. So fast forward, Big O, is sitting in there in the field house, and he's sitting over there eating sunflower seeds, and we're breaking down film on Sunday. And little did Big O know, I'd found a Valcor wrench on the workbench in the carport. I just happened to look down and see it, and again, light bulb went off. So I go up to the field house, and Big O's got his truck parked right there by the fence, because he's parked close as he can get, so he don't have to walk or anything. Heaven forbid he park in a regular parking spot. But anyway, we come back out, and Casey's in there talking, and I hurry over there, and I take the valve stem or the valve cord and loosen up the valve cord. Psh, let all of his air out. Psh, let all of his air out. 2 tires, because I knew he had a spare. And I knew he'd just drop it and put it, change the tire. And I was like, nope, he ain't going home today. And I loosened his valve stems. And that way, when he put it back in there, it'd still leak a little bit. But I left him in there. So anyway, I just got in the truck and drove off. He called me. Hey, man, you're going to have to come get me. I said, man, I can't. I've got it. I've got stuff. He said, Scar, come back and get me. I said, can't, man. I've got to go home. I said, I don't know, get Wagner and bring him home. I hung up on him. He ended up having to call his daddy to come get him. I felt bad after Terry had to come up there and get him. But
he loved it.
Anyway, the prank war is kind of still going on. But again,
But even simple things. I'm sitting at home by myself one night watching TV. Where we lived at the time, it's pitch black all around.
You're going to speak up.
Yeah, you have to.
So
say it in your man voice, Jim. All right, start over with your story.
Where we lived, there was nobody around us. All right, and this is a simple prank. All right. So I'm sitting there watching TV, and I'm just probably watching Friends or something, minding my own business. Well, I just out of the corner of my eye, I see something. I look out the window, and I see a car, just a truck, just creeping by. There ain't nobody out there. Shouldn't be. And all of a sudden, they just screech out, just throwing gravel and everything, and go down the road. Well, then all night long, I'm sitting there worrying that somebody's out to get me, outside my house, and it ends up being him and Evan Morgan. Just out having a good time. Let's just go by Jimmy's house.
Let's go scare Jim.
And they did a good job.
We could see him through the window sitting there watching TV, and all of a sudden he felt that presence. He went, and when he leaned over and looked like that, I said, go, 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 go. And he took off.
Went there and got my gun.
We got Jim up all night.
Yeah,
on
man, I was
security.
worried to death. I thought somebody was after me.
Evan had this coon dog. And he drove around this Mazda pickup truck the whole time we was in school at UAB. And this truck probably had 300,000 or 400,000 miles on it because those trucks run forever. Well, Evan, on one hot summer day, pulls up in a Chevy Silverado, and we called it Old Gray. And Evan drove this truck forever. Like, he still got it. Yeah. And I mean, anyway, he shows up. He said, what do you think about this truck? I said, man, it's the best truck Chevrolet ever made. And he said, you really think so? Or are you just saying that? I said, no, man, I'm telling you, best truck Chevrolet ever made. I said, if you ever want to sell it, I want to buy it. He said, well, you're going to like this. Come here and look at it. And Evan had a piece of railroad iron about that long, about 8 or 10 inches long, just a little old stubby piece of railroad iron that somebody, used to hammer on something or, whatever. Evan said, found this at trade day in Collinsville the other day. Like to kill me taking it to the truck. Put this in the back. Gray's going to get more traction. We ain't going to get stuck this coon season. And I'm like,
it probably didn't weigh 15 pounds.
Like, I don't think that's going to help. But Evan would not get rid of it. Still to this day, I guarantee you can go to Evan's house, that piece of railroad iron, little 8-inch piece of railroad iron sitting in the back of Gray. We ain't getting stuck this coon season. And I'm telling you, Evan could drive that 2-wheel drive Chevy Silverado anywhere. Evan, man, don't drive down there. We're going to get stuck. No, man, Gray will get us out. Gray will get us out. And, I mean, just be knee-deep mud, and he'd just be creeping. He said, that railroad iron's working, boys. But I'm telling you.
I'll tell you, I'm going to tell a coon hunting story.
All right.
I don't want to butt in. Yeah, I do. So, we go coon hunting one night, and Skylar was always wanting to turn that coon dog out at Ricky Ray's house. Well, it wasn't really woods at Ricky Ray's. It was Ricky Ray's wood because it was just a little bitty patch of woods. So we always ended up on somebody else's trees, So we get over there one night and we treed over on somewhere else. And we walk up to the tree and the dog, it's a dog he was trying or something. It's a little black and tan female. And she was treed this locked down, howl, 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 barking. Well, we walk up there and Evan starts shining. I mean, right away, right there it is. And it was right in the crotch of that tree where it forked right up there, probably 15, 20 foot off the ground. Evan gets his little rifle over there. He shoots. Pow! Out comes the coon on the dog. Fight. I'm talking about they're fighting like they're supposed to. And we're jumping up and down. Get him. Yeah. You got him. And by the time she gets the hammerlock on that coon and she's got him where he can't get her, I hear something going. And it seemed like 20 minutes it was falling. It was the other coon that was laying in the crotch on top or somehow was laying together. Mm-hmm. And when he'd shot them both. That coon, me and Skylar was standing just about like me and Wagner are sitting here. And that coon hit me on the shoulder and bounced. And I could look it in the eye. As it bounced off of me and went on Skylar. And when it got on Skylar, it went into chainsaw mode. Look, all the way down his side.
That coon hit Big O, and then it saw Big O and like, I ain't supposed to be here, and started running down my back of my neck, down my back, and it's just gnawing me all over. And I'm just ear to pocket, just as fast as I can run through them briars going, and I am screaming and running through the woods. No headlight, no nothing. I looked like I had been whipped with barbed wire when I got back.
His shirt, really, it looked like you just run a chainsaw down his back.
Big O, what was that? He said, that was that other coon in that tree. I didn't know what it was. Look, it scared me to death. I hadn't thought about that in forever.
I could hear that coon going, what is that sound? About that time it hit me in the shoulder. I'm looking at eye to eye.
Man, I hadn't thought about that in forever. Yeah, they always made fun of it, because on that little farm, there was just one little scope of woods that run, 400 or 500 yards back up through there. And old Champ, he'd run them up a bush, but sometimes he'd get long leg and he'd try to stretch it out, and he'd end up like 3 or 4 counties over, and we'd
never dropped him out up there that we didn't tree a coon.
Never.
And we killed every one of them we treed. It wasn't like we'd go tree them and walk off from them.
I planted an acre of sweet corn one time, just to, give it to my 2 grandmothers and old ladies there in the community, and for us to put up. And I mean, I don't know if realistically, I don't know that we got 1 dozen. Just about the time it was getting ripe, those coons would break it off and
That's
sit there and eat it.
That's
I
how
mean,
you know when your sweet corn's ready. It's about 3 days after the coons eat it.
yeah. It was a lot of hoeing, a lot of fun, a lot of sweat, and me and you had a watermelon patch up there one time.
We was about to make $1 million.
Yeah, me
That's
and
what you said.
Y'all had a semi truck on retainer ready.
Yeah.
Man,
He had me convinced.
we're fixing to ship these babies coast to coast. I think we got 5 watermelons out of 40 acres. I mean, we hoed those things, and man, they got up and started running, and it was like God was like, all right, fixing to get them. He's in on this one. The good Lord just cut the rain off. I mean, it didn't rain. We planted those seeds. Every single seed that we put in the ground come up. I mean, we're thinning watermelons up 40 acres. We're hoeing. God just said, I got you. And he just cut the water off. It didn't rain all summer long. I mean, we're out there at one point in time with a 55-gallon drum on the back rack of the four-wheeler ratchet strap. We'd fill it up and let the water. Man,
We was at the farmer's market selling for $1. Little ice box, little one. They're good.
oh man, it's
Cut
like
one
candy.
open, he said, I bet you it's going to be good. He'd cut it open, and they'd eat it. Like,
Man.
that is good. Give me 2 or 3 of them. We sold a few.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we made like
Everybody thought
just
you were gonna
enough,
get some oranges.
just enough money to buy our biscuits at Jack's that morning.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We didn't have round 2 on the watermelons though. We buy them at the pick and save now.
Yes.
Like everybody else. We're city
When we went
folks.
and got to see from Miss Mary Rose, she was like, she gave us that look. Like, she knew.
Miss Mary Ruth, the funniest thing, one night we come in over there, and it was getting dark. Skylar had killed a deer. We come in over there getting knives and pans, and we was fixing to skin that deer and clean it up, And Miss Mary Ruth had spent most of her life over there in that meat market cleaning animals, and in the wintertime, they'd clean deer too. And she hated them.
She hated them.
And we walked in there, and he started gathering up pans and knives, and Miss Mary Ruth said, y'all ain't killed another one of them nasty deer, have you?
She hated them.
She hated them.
I tell you, so this story, the duck hole. So me and Will to be so intense for football is the least confrontational person here, which is saying something.
Yeah.
Like Will hates confrontation. I'm a lover. Don't get me wrong. I love you. But now you mess with somebody like people in this group or my family, like I'm gonna feed you something now. I got these combos right here, Popeye serving 1-2s, So we go. So me and Will open this.
I think they call that short man syndrome.
Yeah, well, I'll feed them to the big ones too. Okay? I don't care. Hey,
Don't discriminate.
yeah, anybody can get it. So we are at my farm, and my aunt had been dating this guy, whatever, and he was just so hateful to my family, just super hateful. And the day before, he'd been a little hateful to me. I kind of brushed it off. So me and Will go duck hunting. It's opening day, but we had no ducks. The dam had busted or something. So we had no water, which is really rare for that place.
It's spring fed too.
Yeah, and so we didn't kill any ducks, so I'm already in a real bad mood. And so we're leaving, and I see this guy outside at my aunt's house. And so I roll my window down, and Will said, "Don't you do it." He said, "Don't you do it." He knew. He said, "Don't you do it."
Please don't do it.
And so I whisper something. I don't know how he even heard me. so he yells. He says, "Hey, Ty, stop!" And I said, "Put it in park." I said, "I'm not stopping. I get out while it's moving." And I took off. I had on a pullover. We've been hunting, so I took off my pullover. He said, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "We're about to end this. We're gonna find out right now today which one of us is the toughest one." And so this guy. So we have a barbed wire fence that separates our property. And so he walks up to it and he said, "Why don't you like me?" I said, "I just don't. I said, "Man, I like it. I just don't like you. I never will. This is the way it is. The way life is." I said, "You're hateful to people. I just don't like it." And so he gets, we're nose to nose. We're doing this. And he says, "Won't you come over here on my property and say that?" And I said, "I'm not stupid. I ain't doing that." And so Will's behind me. Will's like, "Hey," Will the whole time was like, "Hey man, let's talk about it. Let's just go, man. Come on, let's just talk. Let's talk about this." I could hear him back there trying to be the voice of reason, and I'm ignoring Will the whole time because I respect his opinion, but I didn't want it that day. and so that guy, he says, "What you gonna do if I come over there on your side of the fence? You gonna call the cops?" I took my phone out and I threw it, and I said, "I ain't calling nobody." I said, "But I'm gonna tell you this." I said, "You cross this fence, and I'm gonna knock you out." And he said, "Is that so?" And Will said, "Oh no." And I
I
said,
said, surely he's not going
and I said, "You cross this fence." And he said, "Back up."
please don't do
So I back up about I back up about 3 steps, and he ducks down. Look, it's a 3-strand fence. He ducks down to go under it, and I heard Will say, "Oh no!" Like he literally said the words out loud. And when that guy stood up, I crow hop mollywop him. I mean, I hit him with everything I had, and just like you want to happen, he done. He catches the strands on the fence. And so, like, I kind of go dark for a minute, and so I'm real aggressive at this point, and so he's on the ground, and I'm at this point like Will's like, "Hey Ty, you're done, let's go." And so he grabs me. Well, the guy grabs my foot, and so I go down to push his head off. I was just gonna push him away. Well, he latches. My thumb got took, and look, there's a scar. He latches on to my thumb. Bites me. And will not let go. Like, I'm trying to pull it out. It's not coming. And so at this point, I go back into the fence a little bit, and I close my fist and fish hook him and just start. I mean, I put a knot on his head the Boy Scouts couldn't tie. I folded his clothes with him wearing them. And so I am furious.
And Will's over going, "Oh no!"
Yeah, I think Will.
Because I knew exactly what was about to happen.
Will may have cried.
You saw this exact same thing happen before.
In my head way before it ever happened.
Except for the bite. Nobody. I didn't see that. I've never been bitten.
So you've got him like a bass at this point.
Yes. I've hooked him, and I have swelled his eyeball shut and beat him, and he still won't let go.
Oh bless him.
Like I had to hit him so many times to make him let go of my thumb. At that point, it's self-defense, okay? Because I fully thought.
Sounds like it.
I was like, it's gonna be gone. My thumb will be gone when I get it out of there. And I mean, this guy looked like Ike Clanton from dang Tombstone. That's what he looked like. So like, I had to go put antiseptic on my thumb. Anyways, so I get in the truck, and I'm just calm as a cucumber. And Will's face is just ghost white.
He's like Lee Trevino.
And so Will's driving. He don't even press the gas. He just puts it in drive and lets it roll out of the driveway there. And he looks at me, and I said, I don't know what happened to him.
My stomach's hurting.
I said, man, I hit him. I said, Will. I said, we gotta get her. I said, I didn't hit him 3 times. He said, you hit him 13 times before he went down. He said, you were just, and I was like, no, I didn't count. I don't think I was like, yeah.
And this was like after years of great hunts over here. And I looked at him and I said, well, we had a good run.
Yeah. Will looked at me. That's all he said. We had a good run.
He could have been a surgeon.
He could have been those 50 times and never missed.
But hey, look. So I tell you the 2 things that guy never did, though. He never said another word to anybody in my family, and he never came back to my aunt's house.
They got divorced?
Yeah, they divorced after that.
Will told me after that happened, I was like, man, what was it as bad as I'm hearing? And Will was like, I've heard stories about how Ty could go with this 2-piece all these years. He said, it's all true. It's every bit of it. Anything you've heard is true.
Look, and I don't like I don't want to do it. But I'm tell you something. You mess with my core, and I tell you what really made it the worst was not killing ducks. Like if we'd have killed a pile of ducks, I'd drove right out. Yeah. We didn't even fire a shot. We didn't even see a duck that day.
I would have bet $1 million if I had it that he wasn't going to cross over that fence.
He did.
No. He did.
So,
I don't know.
So my grandfather.
I bet he won't cross it again.
So my grandfather, he was at the time he was already sickly. He was pretty ill, and but he's kind of like he watches all the farmers live there. That's where he grew up, and so I'm dreading telling my granddad, and like we all are. I'm like, man, I said it's not gonna be good. He's gonna tell me to never come back. Like he's gonna really get me. And I say, Papa, I said, I'm sure you heard what happened. He said, yeah, you heard. I said, look, I was taking up for you. He said some hateful things about you. I said, I just want you to know I'm sorry. And he said, don't be sorry. He said, hell, if he couldn't fight better than that, you ought not have crossed your fence. And I said, okay. I said, so we're good. He goes, hey, baby, you do whatever you want. And I was like, okay.
So Ty's granddaddy is like the Marlboro Man. He's just larger than life, and he put up with all of our shenanigans. But this one particular morning, he was sitting on his front porch for some reason. It was one of those Alabama duck hunt mornings, early in the year, and it seems like it might have been opening day, but it was probably 55, 50, 55 degrees, and it wasn't just, extremely cold, but it might have been in the 40s. But anyway, he's sitting there drinking his coffee as we drive by. So I'm gonna back up and get to the story, and this is one of my favorite memories of being down there. Ty had like a great place to duck hunt. It probably is. It's probably, one of my favorite places in the country to go, just because of all the memories and us building the blind down there, and just the wing shooting's phenomenal. So we go, brush the blind in and everything's set, weeks before opening day. And, that way it kind of turns colors with the surroundings and everything. You want to be camouflaged, and everything's laid out the night before. And I forgot one thing: to get gas in my truck. So when I cranked the truck in center.
That's a common theme with you.
Yeah.
No, it was cold, dude. It was
Really cold.
it was like in the 30s.
Well, it wasn't like as cold as it. We broke ice down there. Like we've stood on the ice. It wasn't like bone chilling cold, but it was warm enough that he's sitting on the front
And
porch.
you were really proud of that Arctic Cat 4.
So I had the 4-wheeler behind us.
No.
I had the 4-wheeler behind us, or I had the 4-wheeler hooked up behind my truck on a trailer. And I knew that if I stopped and if I drove into center to get gas and then went, I was going to be late. I wouldn't make it. So I thought, it'll make it. I had a lot of faith in the old Z71. And anyway, I cranked it up, elected to go on down to the...
It did.
I elected to go on down and go duck hunting, and I make it to the...
Spoiler.
I make it down to the duck blind, and just as I pull up to where everybody is parked, it goes tick, 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 and just dies right there. And Ty said, "Dude, what's wrong with your truck?" I said, "Out of gas." And he said, "Well, you're here now. Let's go." So we get on the 4-wheeler, and they put all the stuff on there, because I had the only 4-wheeler at the time that would go across, because it was awful. It snorkeled and everything. So I drive across, and I've got all the decoys and everything on, and we go down there, we shoot a bunch of ducks, we come back, we let the tailgate down on my truck that didn't have any gas in it, we take a bunch of pictures, and Ty said, "What are we going to do now?" I said, "One of you boys is going to drive this truck." He said, "It ain't got no gas in it." I said, "I got a chain." So we let the tailgate up on the trailer, and I hooked the chain to the trailer and just drag the truck backwards, and Ty's in there driving the truck. So I unhook the chain, just drag a chain back around, hook it to the tow hooks of the Z71. I said, "All right, Ty, here we go." I put that 4-wheeler down into drive, and it was an Arctic Cat 650.
Yeah.
And 4-wheel drive. So I put it in 4-wheel drive, and I'm throwing mud all over the windshield coming out, just bomb, just goosing it, And I didn't have a face mask this morning. And I knew it was a pretty good drive down the highway.
Probably 4.5 miles.
Like, it's a long way down the highway to the gas station right there at Beans and Greens, Ball Play Grocery. So I just take an extra long sleeve shirt, kind of like this one, and just wrap it around my head like a turban. And I've got a little hole right in the middle.
He pulled that parka. He pulled the string. I remember him stopping. He pulled that thing so tight. He had a circle. It was like a sphincter. It was this big. And he is looking through it like this as he drives.
So I've got hand warmers in here, and the shirt is blowing backwards, and I've got one hole right here in my face, just like this. And I'm driving, and we get out there on the highway, and I just shower down on that thing. Woo,
He
woo.
pulled it at 50 miles an hour.
He pulled it as fast as it
For
would go
4.5
And I come by Ty's granddaddy,
the whole way.
and you want to talk about somebody looking like Lee Trevino. He's sitting there with that coffee cup going. And I just throw my hand up at him as I go by, and he never took a sip of that coffee. He's just shaking his head the whole time.
Let's be honest. Skylar wanted to pull that truck.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
There was
Oh.
other trucks there that could have pulled that
Look,
truck.
Oh,
he
we're
would've-
doing it
he
with a
would've pulled
four-wheeler.
those
He was
trucks
doing
too
it with the
hook 'em
four.
too.
He
I mean,
wanted
yeah.
to do it with the four.
Oh, so
he
we
literally pulled it at feet. I kept thinking, I was like, he'll give up. I was like, he's gonna give up in a minute. He's gonna stop to get warm. Not a single time did he let off that gas pedal.
it was like, on the movie Dumb and Dumber. When we get there, that's what I was like when I got to Beans and Greens. I'm thinking, it's not real cold. It got a lot colder on that 4-wheeler running 50 miles an
But
hour.
it was kind of like you said you were going to do it, so there was no.
Oh,
going back.
They ain't no quitting me,
got a little
son.
nippy coming through the pass.
Truck to the gas station with the four-wheeler, and there's nobody stopping me.
Got a little nippy coming through the pass.
Yeah, I was
We're-
good though.
Here!
I was fine. The truck was great. Like, radio.
We're
And
full
the
right.
other 3 trucks behind it were great too.
Yeah. He pulled it so fast I had to ride the brakes on some of the hills.
Loading Mike.
Yeah, I was like, oh god, like I'm gonna.
Look, when we got into the parking lot, the speedometer was just flashing. Belt, 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 belt. Because I pulled it so hard, the belt on the clutches was just smoked off of it. I just wanted to see how fast it'd go. But we made it. I went across to Beans and Greens after pumping my truck full of gas at Ball Play Grocery and ate a blueberry muffin and ate the little tenderloin out of the cinnamon roll. You know what I'm talking about? The inside of, the middle part.
Tenderloin.
The tenderloin.
Yes, it is.
Yes, sir. The back strap of the tenderloin.
That's too good.
Well, we've sat here to way past our bedtime, and now that we've told all of our duck hunting and family history and all of our prank stories, I guess that'll just about do it for another episode of Talking Quack and Smack with TC Duck Club. Just about as much as we have. I'm Skylar Ray.
Will Wagner.
Casey Young.
I'm Ty Hunt.
Jim Garmany.
Seems like you had to think about what your
I
name
miss
was.
it every time.
It's all right. Like the movie Major League Dynamite drop in, Marty. That broadcasting school's really starting to pay off. Y'all have a good one. Stay with us because we're going to keep killing it.